Hello everybody, Tyrone the God 3 here, and I know I've been away from the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime scene for quite a while, especially now that we've reached this climactic arc in the series known as the Sogaleo arc, or Nebby arc, or Lusamine arc, or Ultra Aether Foundation arc, or whatever have you. It's the climactic part in the video games of Sun and Moon where you reach parasitic Lusamine and fight her in Ultra Space. I know I've reached a very climactic part of Pokemon Sun and Moon, and I missed quite a few episodes then, so I decided to binge watch all of the episodes leading up to the current episode that will be approaching next Thursday, which is the climactic battle between Ash, Sogaleo, Pikachu, and parasitic Lusamine. So I just wanted to go ahead and try to give my thoughts on it. One, because Twitter, you guys had requested me do this, and two, I've been away from the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime scene for so long, I feel it's a good time to go ahead and put my 2 cents in on how I feel the Sun and Moon anime has been going so far, at least as far as this arc is concerned, because as we see, this is the arc where all of the giant climactic story plots end up happening right in these episodes that all coincide with each other. When I left Pokemon Sun and Moon's anime, reviewing it wise, I left it more or less because Pokemon Sun and Moon was a very comfortable anime, too comfortable if you will, so comfortable to the fact where I felt like nothing was really going, but based on the way they set up the story, nothing really has to go, it's not obligated to. Unlike the previous series, like Advanced Generation, the original series Black and White, Diamond and Pearl, and the Kalos region, where there's a clear-cut journey from point A to point B in a plot line that Ash has to follow, and as far as going on a journey in order to get badges, collect Pokemon, and reach the Pokemon League, and so on and so forth. Whereas here, it's set up in an environment where Ash can afford to just sort of chillax. There's no pressure to do anything, so with no pressure to do anything that doesn't bring a conflict to any of the episodes, at least a conflict that can't be resolved within the episode that it takes place, and thus no overarching story. That is, until we reach this climactic arc of events that lead to this story mode, in particular involving Lily, Gladian, Lusamine, Ash, and friends. So, brief summary of exactly what's happened. Ash found Nebby in the grass along with Pikachu, decides to take Nebby to the school, and everybody gets fascinated by it. And at this point, it's Ash's responsibility to take care of Nebby, much like a father figure or, you know, just one of his Pokemon, just a baby one. And then afterwards, they learn that Nebby has the ability to teleport people and Pokemon basically anywhere that they see fit based on what their mindset is. And because of this, they get into all sorts of shenanigans. This even leads to Ash meeting up with Gladian while they were training with Type Null, and then that leads to an all-out battle between Ash, his dusk-formed Lycanroc, versus Type Null. And Ash must never tell Lily about Type Null because it would send her into a huge shock. So, when all of that takes place, they end up heading back, and then Nebby teleports Lily somewhere. And when he teleports Lily somewhere, he teleports Lily to the basement of the Aether Foundation, which puts Lily in a post-traumatic stress disorder shock yet again. After that ends up happening, however, she can't touch Pokemon anymore. She's reverted back to her old ways, where she's so traumatized she can't afford to touch Pokemon. Because she's so upset by these events that have transpired, also they're visiting the Aether Foundation, and Lily gets very upset with her mother. But because of all these events that have taken place, Lily makes it a goal of hers to want to remember why she can't touch Pokemon in the event to try to touch Pokemon yet again. Well, because of all of this, Nebby ends up teleporting Ash and Lily to various different spots in Lily's childhood. Then they end up teleporting back to the Aether Foundation in the basement area yet again. Now, this is a problem because once they do they end up running into Faba. And Faba's goal is to actually open up the Ultra Wormhole space like they did once before way back in the past, because Lusamine is so fascinated with Nihilego, and he wants nothing more than to please Lusamine. So in this pursuit, he tries to capture Nebby, and ultimately tries to get Lily to forget all of what she saw back then. Now, once this is all said and done, it gets foiled by Gladian, who comes in with Type Null, which evolves into Savali. And then it turns out what really happened is that Savali was protecting her from the Nihilego way back then, although Lily misinterpreted it because she was so young back then. And it turns out that's what really happened. So she ends up finding the heart to touch Pokemon again, Savali, Nebby, Pikachu, Vulpix, and then later all of the other Pokemon. And Faba is also foiled. Because this is all said and done, she plays with all of the Pokemon, and during the distraction, Faba ends up stealing Nebby yet again, and it's up to Ash and the others to save Nebby, because Faba's using Nebby's powers to open up the Ultra Wormhole. Now, when this all takes place, they end up fighting off against Faba yet again, only this time Gladian shows up into the picture as well. And when they all try to fight him off, Lusamine is there as well. And Lusamine tries to protect her children from getting hurt, because what ends up happening is that Nebby ends up escaping. However, it was used up so much power that it ends up evolving into Cosmoem. The power that Cosmoem just exerts is enough to open up the Ultra Wormhole again, and Nihilego is free yet again. Nihilego tries to capture Ash and the others, and Lily and Gladian, but Lusamine protects Lily and Gladian and ends up getting kidnapped by Nihilego. Because she ends up getting kidnapped by Nihilego, it's up to Ash and the others to go to Ultra Space in order to save Lusamine. Unfortunately, the machine broke, so there's no other way to save Lusamine. At this point, Lily is very upset with herself, but she turns into what the video game calls her Z form, which is her basically packing up into her new outfit so that she can go find a way to save her mother, Lusamine. Gladian ends up knowing somewhat of a way they could be able to try and do it, and that's find Sogaleo, which is at the altar of the suns. So they end up traveling together through various dungeons and traps and even fight the totem Kamo'o. And then they defeat it so that they can move forward. Ash and the others learn where they're exactly going, and they take a boat and end up catching up with them at last minute. Once they all reach the Altar of Suns, it looks like all hope to, find Sogaleo is lost, until they realize that Cosmoem is there. Tapu Koko, Lele, Bulu, and Feeny all show up at the same time and take care of Cosmoem to the point where they can nurture it and evolve it into Sogaleo, the Sogaleo that they were looking for the whole time. Also, it turns out that all of the Tapus were there when it was time for them to drop off Nebby, and they're the reason Ash met Nebby in the first place. So, after that, since Nebby's evolved into Sogaleo, they also need Ash to use Sogaleo's Z-move in order to open up the Ultra Wormhole. But if they needed a Z-move to open up the Ultra Wormhole, then how would Sogaleo be able to open up the wormhole without Ash? Whatever. Anyway, so since Ash can't do it because the crystal doesn't work for his Z-Ring, all of the Tapus get together and power up the Z-Ring. So now it's a way more powerful Z-Ring. It's turned into the Z-Power Ring, and he's able to use Sogaleo's Z-move so that they can open up the Ultra Space wormhole and travel to Ultra Space. Once there, they end up encountering Lusamine, but she's completely corrupted by Nihilego and decides to flee away from Ash and the others in the attempt to try to save her. Because of this, Lusamine lets loose all of her Pokemon to attack our heroes, and one by one, each of the students end up fighting each of the possessed Pokemon that Lusamine owns, which then leads to Ash, Sogaleo, and Pikachu off in order to fight off against the parasitic Lusamine in an all-out battle, which we haven't reached yet. So, as you can tell, a lot of things have happened in this story, and I gotta say, I'm really impressed by the way this story handles itself. All of the characters are used very effectively. None of the characters feel like they're wasted, although there was one episode that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and it was the one literally where they were watching the Tapus take care of Cosmoem so it can evolve into Sogaleo, which left little to no payoff until the very end of the episode, but everything else was just sort of nonsense. The Team Rocket subplot happened way too long, and Team Rocket to me should have just been running jokes that never really interfered with an entire episode. Like, they could have just comedically got hit by a bunch of Marcros and fell off the mountain towards the Altar of Suns or something that didn't eat up so much time. The fact of Jesse and Meowth chewing James out because Nebby didn't evolve into a coffin. It's just irritating to me as to why that lasted so long. Why was that such a long subplot to carry onward. But other than that, every one of the other episodes was handled really well. One of my favorites actually is the one where Lily and Gladian are traveling through the Altar of Suns dungeon. And I love how Lily is like, this is a trap, this is a puzzle. And Gladian's just like, just walk. Just walk to the door. This isn't, you're looking too far into this. Like, I like how it's the reverse Indiana Jones type situation. And then they end up fighting off against Totem Kamo'o. And it's a really epic battle. Like, I gotta say, I love the scene where Gladion's like skating all on the ice that Vulpix made with the powdered snow. And they end up getting the fairy disc. And it's a really cool fight. Like, it's a nice fight. It's a pretty awesome fight. And it's handled really well, the music's really well, everything here is done right. And I love how when they get to Ultra Space, they have an all-out battle with each of Lusamine's Pokemon in a 6v6 involving all of Ash's friends. And, you know, their Pokemon against Lusamine's corrupted Ultra Space Nihilego Pokemon or whatever. And I love the attention and detail. Each of the Pokemon ends up getting powered up just like the Totem Pokemon. It's almost like the video games. Even to the point where it gets a little annoying. Like, there are some comedic Rotom spots. And yes, I love the fact that Pokemon Sun and Moon still wants to keep its comedic tone, even during the serious parts. But Rotom Dex just sort of takes a lot of it away because he ruins the atmosphere of, oh, this is a dangerous Pokemon. And then all of a sudden he comes up and analyzes it like a Pokedex. It's like, okay, there's a time to be a Pokedex and there's a time for you to just go away. This is one of those times. But regardless, a lot of great things happen. Even Lily's fight with Clefable was really cool, even though it wasn't an actual fight. It was just sort of Lily trying to bring Clefable to her senses. And I do love that they did that, just considering the fact that from what we see here, Clefable is like Lusamine's ace Pokemon or star Pokemon or whatever have you. So to see that it means so much to the family, to the point where Lily used the Clefairy doll in order to bring it to its senses, was pretty cool. And it was diverting away from the obvious battles that could have happened. You know, it could have just been an all-out fight or something like that, not adding any dimensions to her character whatsoever. But in a sense, it did it in a way where we can see how far Lily has come as a person. Lily couldn't touch Pokemon, yet hugging Clefable with the Pokédoll was literally the thing that snapped Clefable out of the possession. Nice character development, nice use of growth, considering this is a person who couldn't touch Pokemon at first, and now we have her curing a Pokemon via hugging it. Really nice development. I do find it a little jarring. We get to, I guess this is the point where we see this huge difference of strength between each of these trainers, where Kiawe himself could fight off the Totem Salazzle, but it took literally 3 students at once to fight 3 of the other Totem Pokemon, or corrupted Pokemon if you will, where I get it, it's a 3v3, but it feels like they only did that because they knew that each trainer couldn't take a Pokemon by themselves. And honestly, I'm a little annoyed by the fact that Lana doesn't realize she has a Z-Ring strapped to her arm. Hopefully she uses that Z-Ring in the next episode or something while Ash is fighting off against Lusamine. If not, this is going to be a really annoying plot point for me. Just the fact that they didn't consider using their Z-move, even though Kiawe's out here using his Z-move, so I expected nothing less. Anyway, regardless, everything about this story is really good. Now, for just a couple of other things that rubbed me the wrong way about this arc. Honestly, they had to fight Faba in the basement area twice, and that bothers me. They had to fight him once, obviously, because he was trying to erase Lily's memories so that it could stop her from remembering what happened way back then. And then they fought him again because he kidnapped Nebby, and I feel like both of these 2 things could have happened at the same time. It felt like one thing happened and then stopped and then only happened again because Lily can touch Pokemon and she needs to show off that she can touch Pokemon again. Okay, I guess they just really wanted to go ahead and hurry up and resolve Lily's whole touching Pokemon fiasco and then jump right back into the Faba thing, but I feel like all of that could have been intertwined together. Another thing that bothers me about this entire arc in general is that it feels like it's 0 to 100. I mean, Ash has been goofing around with his fellow student friends for a while and then all of a sudden, BAM! we got the Aether Foundation plot. Okay. It's just, it feels like it happened so sudden, and now it's coming to a close. Like, it's almost to a close. But it also feels like it just started. Like, yes, I know it's been a couple of episodes, and I missed out on a lot, and then I binge-watched all of them in one rapid concession. But it's still, even outside of all of that, it still feels like all of these things happen in really fast motion, just because Lily went from not being able to touch Pokemon all the way up to being able to hug Clefable, and what I feel is a very small amount of episodes to go off of, and it feels like they all were, like, Lily's major plot was crammed into just this arc. And it just, I don't know, I just get a weird feeling about it when I see it. And it's just like, we were at nothing, now we're at something, you know what I'm saying? And yes, I know Gladian and Type Null and everything was built up beforehand. This isn't coming out of pure nowhere. It's just, it feels like they decided to take all of what they had, Ultra Beast wise and Aether Foundation wise, and all of it, and cram it and condense it. Like, I feel like the Aether Foundation should have been introduced like 20 episodes ago if they were going to introduce them, or like 10 episodes ago. And then, you know, we know about them, and sometimes they reappear and appear again. Just like with Team Aqua and Team Magma in the Advanced Generation arc, or Team Plasma, or, you know, something like that. And then all of a sudden they're just here now. Like, they're just here. Even Pokemon Z didn't cram them all into one go. Like, Pokemon Z introduced Team Flare, but the resolution of Team Flare didn't come back again until Ash was done with the Pokemon League. So there was still a huge wide stretch of things that happened in between all of that. Whereas here, it feels like all these things happen in a very condensed form, and I think I know why. It's because Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon is out, and I think what they want to do is try to intertwine both games together so that it won't look like Ash is so far behind. You see, the reason this wasn't a problem in old generations was because initially the third game was pretty much an alternate version of those two games and then continued onward, but then they reached a point where they hit like Black and White syndrome, or Pokemon Best Wishes syndrome, where Ash got completed with everything, then Ash got left with nothing to do. So they just sort of threw N's plot in because, hey, Black and White 2's out. Let's do something. So, more than likely what they're going to do now is either A, they're going to still maybe try to do a little bit more trials and introduce some more characters, because they still haven't introduced Guzma yet. That's another thing. Like, they didn't introduce Guzma or Polymera or any of the other characters yet, so there's still room for them. There's still like more trial captains and everything else that they haven't released, like Kahunas and stuff, and I'm guessing that's for the second half and maybe in Alola League? Probably, who knows? But overall, I gotta say, as far as this arc, just judging it by all the episodes and things that took place, it's really exciting, really action-packed, and I've really been driven to watch each and every episode now to see what happens in this battle, because they are handling it so well. So, if you all were ever wondering, hey, how does Tyrone feel about this? What's his review on this? This is pretty much it. I like the Sogaleo arc. I like everything that's in it. There are some parts that bother me, but overall it's really fun and it was really worth my time, and I can't wait for the climactic battles to happen later in this month. So, with that said, I will come back to the Pokemon and Sun and Moon anime world, or just the Pokemon anime world in general, with other discussion topics like this. So, I'll see you all then, everybody. Tyrone the God 3, out.